What is up, everybody? Good evening. It's Mark here, and I have my co-host. If you could introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Olya, longtime watcher. Love your show, love the challenge.
Yeah, so thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I had her on here once before, but that was before the season started, so I'm just reintroducing her. I have a Facebook page that I created, I think about a year ago now, and it's called the Challenge All-Star Chat. You can feel free to look that up and join the page. I talk about everything challenge on that page. And we started communicating through that page. And I asked on one of my posts if anyone was willing to jump on my YouTube as a panelist. She was one of the first people to respond to that. So here we are. So I'm looking forward to diving into episode 1. I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but we had time zone issues, which has happened to me a few times before now. Um, so
It
now
keeps hitting us.
yeah. And actually, I think that I'm not really going to recap on Thursdays because of that, because it's so late for us on the East Coast.
It is, and also I feel like your fans and people who listen or subscribe to you over here, it'll kind of be spoilers for them.
That too, because
Yeah.
yeah, like when it airs for me, it hasn't aired for you yet. So it's if they're seeing my recap, yeah, it will spoil the episode. So just to make it easier for me, and because I cover Big Brother now too, Fridays is probably going to be it going forward.
Awesome. How did you like this episode?
I loved it. I thought visually it was very cool. I liked how they all came in on the yacht. I found it interesting how I remember when Polly was approaching some of those people, and Josh was like, "Wow, it's been what did he say? It's been 3 years," and Polly was like, "4, actually. Like it's been 4 years."
I like how Paulie said he didn't know if he wanted to hug him or punch him in the face. Because I often feel that way about Josh myself, and I don't even know him.
I am not a Josh fan, to be honest. I I don't hate people like some of the fan bases do.
Hmm.
So it's like I don't particularly like him. I don't hate him. I understand the show is always gonna like him for the drama,
Yeah.
but I'm like, you haven't proven it in competition really. He came in with a Big Brother group that was strong, and he had Casey on his side. Fessy's always a bigger target. Who else did he have? I guess that was his main group, right?
That's his main too, but really, when you bring in Casey, then that ended up bringing Nani, and
Yeah.
everything that goes along with Nani having such a huge history in the challenge.
Yes. That helps hugely with his social game.
Hmm.
So it's not like people are like, let's nominate Josh. And then in addition to that, Josh has not shown himself to be great as a competitor in certain things.
Yeah.
So they're not thinking of him as too threatening either.
And that's where I kind of have the problem. Like, I don't hate him either. I feel like he's a person trying to find himself in the reality world. So I don't dislike him. I just feel like his drama is like distracting and only to get a call back. And I just don't feel like that's I mean, yes, it does. I guess it helps, but I don't feel like that's the point. And I feel like in this season with the Challenge USA, he won't have that availability as much because he doesn't have as much connection with everybody. He doesn't have Casey there. I don't feel like Fessy after what happened on what was right before Ryder Dies. I feel like they haven't been as close since Fessy got kicked off for hitting him. So I think it's really interesting. Plus, I think the Big Brother and Challenge alliances are really intermingled this time, where they haven't been that intermingled before.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit before we put the camera on, that some of the Big Brother people have been on the challenge 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So even though they are originally from Big Brother, they have now played several seasons with these challenge people. So it's like even though they're all in the category of Big Brother alumni, some of the Big Brother people have not actually been on the same season. Most of them actually have not been on the same season with each other. So game wise, they might have more connection to the challenge people. For example, like Tori, when Tori
Mm-hmm.
was making that agreement with Josh in the first episode,
Yeah.
because they are actually played on multiple seasons together and are good friends outside of the show.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting because I feel like Josh has a lot to prove because I feel like all of his dramatics have gotten him this far, but he says he's really been working out. I follow him on Instagram. So
Yes,
I've seen
I've
a
seen his
lot of
CrossFit
effort.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. So if he showed up, I think that'd be amazing. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think anybody from Big Brother has won a challenge.
Casey,
Oh, Casey,
she
that's
won
right.
with CT. And Amber won with CT. They were both with CT actually.
You're absolutely right. I
Yeah,
forget the Amber's Big Brother because they push her out so much. But yeah,
yeah.
no, you're absolutely right. So there hasn't been
Oh,
a
she was
Big
like
Brother
the outskirts.
male.
She was the outskirts of the Big Brother
Poor
alliance.
thing. She is the sweetest. I'm a huge Amber fan.
Yeah,
I love how she plays. I love how hard she tries. I love that she never gives up. So I think she really is inspiring for Big Brother fans and for challenge fans alike.
absolutely. So I'm gonna dive into how they started.
Mhm.
So we started out, everyone met each other, but they did not bring the challengers. So it kind of reminded me of Invasion of the Champions a little bit,
Mhm.
where it's like, hey, all you guys have something in common is that none of you have won before. So they're like, oh, great. We don't have to go against a CT or a Johnny Bananas or Wes or whatever. So I know all these people were thinking that too. Like,
Especially after the first season not having any challengers on it.
yes. So, yeah. So then they bring them in, kind of like Ride or Dies did actually when you think about
That's
it.
what I was thinking.
Yeah. In the most recent MTV challenge season, they brought in all those vets after the fact too. So
And I believe in War of the Worlds, didn't they do that too in the desert? They were sleeping
I
in a
think so, yeah.
camp. I think so. It's always a cool entrance for them. I think they've earned it.
Yeah, so they came in on the jet skis and and I
Wesley
know
Bananas was my favorite.
and I know the people there were thinking like, oh damn, like I was not wanting these people to be here. I know some of the people who have played with them were probably like, cool, some of my friends are here.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, Josh is not happy to see like
Corey,
yeah,
Bananas, Wes,
or
any of them.
any of that. But I thought that was a really cool way to bring them in.
I think Stephanie was not happy to see anybody either.
Who was that?
Stephanie was not happy to see Amanda.
Yes.
Or, yeah. But no, I thought it was really neat to bring them in that way.
Yeah, that was a cool way to bring them in. So they got broken down into 3 teams. There were 3 team captains that were chosen randomly out of that, I don't know what to call it, that spinny thing.
There's a word for it. Ambulatory, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So there was Team Josh, there was Team Cassidy, and there was Team Desi.
Mm-hmm.
Shockingly, Josh actually picked Bananas and Pauly to be on his team. Shockingly.
If you can't fight against them, work with them, right? If you can't beat them, work with them.
Yes, I guess it's something like that. I'm just going through some notes I had, and then I'm going to list out all the teams. Wes was chosen second. Again, he was chosen way over Bananas. It seems like every time there's a team choice, Wes is always one of the first picks, despite having a big target on his back.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was really interesting that Bananas got chose so late in the game. I think it's funny because in Spies, Lies, and Allies, Devin kept being stolen. And so he's, number 1 draft pick over CT and over anybody else. So I feel like Devin is a mini Wes. And I feel like Wes and Devin really market themselves well. And I think that Johnny has been playing really, really under the radar. So he can he's taken after CT, trying to coast to the end. So I'm not surprised that Wes got chose first. But I'm always shocked that people don't have faith in bananas.
Yeah, I remember last year when Fessy, I mean not last year, but whenever Ryder Dies
Mm-hmm.
aired, when Fessy was like, I'm not really that worried about bananas. Like, I mean, he's kind of athletic, and I'm like, I mean, he's kind of athletic enough to win 7 finals. I don't even like the guy like that, but come on.
I
He's
totally agree. And my favorite thing that Fessy said, and I believe it was in Rally Guys, is that he's not that great, but for some reason this guy is amazing at climbing up the ladder with the 3 little. I mean, he got up there before anybody. He was just waiting to see who met him up there, and he does. He has the most. I mean, just he's good at everything. So I don't know how you can count that out.
the challenge is like athletics is just one rung of the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Like he works out, he's not the strongest or the fastest or the best endurance, but there's just so many factors to everything. There's the little weird games that they play.
Mm-hmm.
There's just like random puzzles that they have to do. There's just adapting to different variables that happen during a final. It's just a whole combination. He's just an all-around guy.
And I think you really hit the nail on the head with the adaptivity, because I mean, in Ride or Dies, it was just a matter of not winning, and he picked up on that early on. So yeah, adaptivity is a huge part of getting far.
I think you make a great point that I didn't think about, because I was really looking at it like, oh, it was probably a big blow to the ego that here Desi picks Wes first on her team, and he's picked somewhere way in the middle on Team Josh.
Uh-huh.
But it's probably a good thing, like what you're saying, because the person who's won the most ever is middle of the pack on the radar somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably
it's severely underestimated.
They're not trying to get me out first.
Yeah.
So what else did we have here? Yeah, so I'm going to go through these teams now.
Okay. I have a really quick input. I really want to touch on the Tyler topic from Big Brother. I thought it was really interesting how he said that because the votes are secret, it's a lot more like Big Brother. And so the sneakiness and the sneakiness really comes into play. And I think that's where Big Brother shines. Sorry. Go ahead.
DM Rock said, hey, it's interesting that Amanda hates Tori, but they are roommates right now in the house. I thought that was funny.
I'm interested to see how that works out.
Oh, me too.
Go out.
And they've been going back and forth on social media too.
The clown face?
Yes. Yeah. So we have our 3 teams here: Team Red, Team Blue, and Team Green. So I'm going to run through the teams. Team Josh, which is Team Red. Janae, by the way, Janae is the first pick twice now.
And I love that. She deserves it so much. I am still hurt for her for what Zach did. And this is just like how he belittled her and said she sucked. And this is so validating for her. I love her. I love it. And it just, yeah, I thought it was awesome.
I met Janae at one of the Challenge Mania events.
That's so
and I told her, I was like, to be honest with you, when I saw you on your Real World season, and then when I saw you get onto the challenge, I never thought you would win a challenge. And she actually told me neither, to be honest with you.
How cute.
She was like, when I first started coming to challenges, it was a vacation. And it was a place where I could just party with my friends, drink, live in a mansion, and that was it. And she said, when I got the call to come back for All Stars, now I'm married and I have kids.
Really cute kids.
And she was like, my family looks at me as like, like their hero. So it gave me a different type of drive for coming back. She said, I'm leaving them for X amount of time, and they're wanting me to come back as a winner, even though they think I'm a winner anyways, just for doing it. She said she had a different drive, and she learned so much about herself winning the first one. Not winning the first one, but you know how she was there and she was the first female to finish along with Yes, but it was only one person who got the money in that season. and then winning the back-to-back seasons.
Yes.
She said she just learned so much about herself that she didn't know. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I love her. I love her story, and it's really awesome to have watched her evolve into that and see how amazing she is.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a well-deserved first pick because
Yeah.
I feel similar about her as what we were just talking about with Johnny. You're
Hmm.
not looking at her like, oh, this is the best physical person. This is the greatest swimmer. This is the best one with this. I mean, she's the puzzle master, so we
Yeah.
definitely have to give her that title. But everything else is just like all-around game. She's good at everything, and she's very smart and doesn't seem to get rattled under pressure.
Yeah. And her social game is good too. It's very even tempered. Like you said, she doesn't get rattled during the game, but she also doesn't get rattled by people in the house.
Yes.
And she's kind of seen it all, been there, done that.
So she's the first pick. Polly was the next pick, surprisingly.
I was kind of surprised at that one too.
But it was probably like you said, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, who I'm like, looking at this on paper, this is a kind of dramatic team. Because I remember Michelle having so many issues on this show last time when she was with Jay. Dusty,
and Jay was happy to point them out. I feel like she did have issues, but I feel like Jay accentuating them kind of really put a target on her back
mm-hmm.
and made it even more extreme.
Dusty, who I don't really know. Chanel from Survivor. Bananas, again surprising, and Tiffany from Big Brother 23. Team Cassidy, which is the blue team, has Corey, it has Tori, Fessy, Alyssa, Lopez, Sebastian, Alyssa Snyder, and Chris. There's a couple people on the team I didn't see their shows. I think Sebastian and Chris. And then the last team we have was the Team Green, Team Desi. I'm glad that Desi came back.
Yeah, me too. I liked her.
So we have Wes, we have Michaela, we have Monty, we have Amira, Tyler, Amanda, and Lewis. So I think this team kind of has the most rookies.
Mm-hmm.
The most challenged rookies are on that team, it seems like. So looking at that team, I thought that Team Green is looking like a strong team physically, but then it's also the team that has the least social clout.
Yeah.
Because most of them are the least known.
Yeah. And Team Blue and Team Red are already working together and excluding the green team. So it's already, there should already be on the defensive.
Yep. So we went through this first challenge, and it was Team Blue that won the challenge, right?
Yes.
Team Cassidy.
Yes.
Yeah, so Team Cassidy won the challenge, so that meant all those people were safe. The team with Corey, Tori, and Fessy and all those people. And they had a talk with Josh's team, Team
Mm-hmm.
Red. And they were basically like, we want to go as a united front and take somebody from Team Green out of there.
Mm-hmm. So I thought it was really interesting at the end that somebody on Red voted Red.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I getting that right?
Don't worry, I have trouble remembering also that.
Okay.
So it was Team Red. It was John A, because John A told Wes told John A that you have to look out for Michelle.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
So John A voted for Michelle. Then they showed in the little diary room clip. Michelle was like, the math ain't math in here.
Yeah.
Like the number should be 8-8, not 9-7, I think it was.
Yeah. Which I feel like is first shots fired. And then, of course, Bananas gets 4 votes. We weren't doing that yet.
Yes. Let me read this comment. The green team was in the lead, but Amanda. Oh, yeah. So Amanda and Amira were running while everybody else was carrying the statue. And their only task was to memorize the symbols on those rocks when they were
Mhm.
running by, and she didn't do that. So they had a lead, and then they were trying all the combinations, and it didn't work. So,
They
and
were
then
just guessing numbers towards the end.
yes, and then the red team. I remember that moment where Bananas was like, "Oh, we want to pass those guys. Let's pass them." And he tried to force his way around, and then all their stuff toppled over. And I'm like, that's kind of one of Banana's weaknesses.
Yeah.
That is not a patient man.
No. And it either works out really well for him or loses it for him every time.
It's like go big or go home type of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's go big and hopefully don't go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like it's very reminiscent of Spies, Lies, and Allies with Amanda not working on a team or not caring or not putting in the effort. It's just, it always seems like what she does.
So Desi has one vote. Who do you think voted for her? I don't even really have a good guess for that.
Do you have a guess of who you think voted for Desi? DM Rocks? I don't know those people well enough to know who dislikes who yet.
Yeah, that's the one thing about not having, having so many people with other show history. Like, I haven't seen all their seasons, so I'm not really sure. But I do know that Alyssa, Schneider, Monty, and Amira all came from the past season of Big Brother. So I know that when Alyssa was in those deliberations, she wanted to make sure that Amira was safe because they're close friends outside of the house, which I think he said that in the confessional.
I heard it a couple times. I feel though when you're on a team though and you're that new, if you go against the grain, then you're probably going to be the next name up there.
DM Rock said, I think Tiffany or Chanel.
That's interesting. I want to watch it again and see the dynamic.
Yeah, so I don't know if I fully understand. Okay, so they had the secret vote. Mm-hmm. So what happens? The team that wins, they have a vote as a team or what?
So the team that wins, and I always love how people get voted down. I love the skulls. I love not the skulls. I love how people get into the arena or whatever it happens to be named this season. But so the team that wins votes a guy and a girl. So then everybody else has their secret ballot. So every time you get a vote, there's a ball that's put into the ambulate, whatever that thing is called. But for every vote, you get one ball in there. And so they just shuffle it up, and then one is picked out. If it's a guy that gets picked out, it's a guy's day. If it's a girl that gets picked out, it's a girl's day. So you never have that I'm safe this day. You never have a calm day. You never have a day where you don't have to worry about winning. And you can also, you can't throw a day because you never know if it's guys or girls.
So the name is irrelevant. It's just like female name equals female elimination.
Yep.
Male name equals male elimination.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the guy and the girl, like it's, I believe, Lewis and Amira.
Yeah.
So let's say Johnny gets picked out, then it's Lewis and Johnny. Or let's say Desi gets picked out, it's Amira and Desi.
I remember that Monty had 4 votes and Bananas had 4 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that if a male name gets picked out, they go against each other?
No. So basically the votes being turned into balls means that the more balls you have in there, the higher percentage.
Oh, it's like a lotto thing.
Yes, there you go. That's exactly what
now I understand. So so everybody is at risk.
Everybody's at risk. Anybody who has been voted in, anybody who has even one vote is at risk. And
so the winning team, the team that wins picks the male and female, one male and one female to go in. And then the lotto thing determines if it's going to be a male or female day and who they go against.
Yes.
Wow.
So, it picks a challenger. So even if you're picked, like let's say Amira was picked, but then Monty goes against Lewis, Amira's off the hook. Which they've never done before. So I think that's really cool. TJ has a way of making sure people stay on their toes.
That is very creative, actually.
It is. I would love that aspect of it.
Yeah, because like you said, you can't chill. There's no weak. Even if you get one vote, there's still a chance for you to go in there.
Absolutely. And it makes the secret vote not quite as secretive.
Yes.
If you know how many people voted for you, you can kind of put things together a little bit better. So it negates that, but not fully.
I think Michelle is gonna be onto the fact that Johnny voted for her.
I think so too.
Because it already seemed like that's what she was alluding to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But I also feel like people who play, like they always say, playing with emotions is one of Josh's biggest weak points. And people who play super emotionally or use their emotions to influence other people, it never works out for them.
Let me see what this said again. The team that wins and the team that comes in second votes. The losing team does not vote.
I don't think that's accurate. No. I think the team that wins votes the two base players in. The two teams that lost vote for the all the names that go on the ball that become balls.
And they do the secret votes.
They do the secret votes, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was. So the first place team did that thing where they had the conversation and they all said who they're voting for out loud.
Yes.
Right? Like, I'm voting for this one, I'm voting for this one. And then whoever had the most was the top man and the top female.
Yes.
And then the other ones just talked about it, but then went to do the secret ballot. And it just showed as a number on the board.
Yep.
This person has this much, this person has that much.
And their votes turned into a ball.
Yeah.
Every single person's.
Interesting. I like that better than the perfect algorithm. Because I remember when they had that thing used to annoy me because I'm like, I don't really know if I trust this as legit. There used to be some times where I'm like, this seems a little too convenient.
Not only that, but also like you can't get comfortable with anybody. Like I feel like it's kind of like, I don't know if you like basketball, but I feel like it doesn't matter. Huh?
I said I love basketball.
Okay, cool. Me too. I love it. And I don't know, who's your team, if you don't mind me asking?
The Raptors.
I'm sorry, the Raptors?
The Raptors, yeah.
Awesome. So I don't know if you remember when the Lakers had Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Shaq and Kobe.
Early 2000s, 04.
Yeah, all amazing players, but they didn't gel together. So it doesn't really matter how great they are individually because they couldn't play together. You know?
Exactly. The way that you play together makes a huge difference.
And I feel like that's why Tori and Devin got so far, Nani and Johnny and Ryder, is because they had that gel. And so with the algorithm thing, nobody got to gel with it. It was an individual game that you had to rely on a different person every week to help you out. And I think now that you say it, I missed having the actual challengers on there, but that was kind of hard for me too, because I was like, there's nothing to root for, nothing to really get into.
For those of us who are core challenge fans, because nowadays that's not everybody. There's people who joined when they started inviting Big Brother, Survivor, Amazing Race, Love Island, all these other shows. There's people who were fans of those other shows who joined because they knew some of their favorites were jumping on the challenge. But for those of us who only were challenge fans, started with the challenge, ride or die challenge fans, it was hard when they started introducing these other shows. I know we talked about this before. It was hard for me because I remember this one season that was really annoying for me. It was a season where Casey and Bailey were on that season.
Yes.
So they were having some kind of drama on the challenge. And then Bailey was just like, when we were on Big Brother, we were so close. She was even kind of alluding that they had some kind of flirtatious relationship. But for me, I'm seeing the 10-second clip that they show on the show. So I can't really feel strongly about it one way or another because I don't know.
Yeah.
So I felt, even as a challenge fan, I'm not fully invested into this storyline because I don't get it.
I was more worried about Big T's bleeding toe than I was about the entire Casey Bailey situation. And it's funny because I ended up watching the Big Brother season just to see, because it had Bailey on it, it had Swaggy P on it, it had just so many people from that season, and you don't see that storyline at all. You see Bailey and Casey watching each other's back, but that flirtatious or anything of that nature, you don't see it. And Swaggy P and Bailey are together from maybe the second episode. So I feel like knowing that background would have been instrumental in understanding where Casey was coming from and Bailey's overreactions and how that's kind of how she got away previously. But you don't know any of that because we've seen the real world. We saw Bananas and Tyler fight over and over and over again, but you don't have that background. And it was really frustrating. And even in Are You the One, at least you have some kind of background with it. I mean, I watched it. I don't know if you watched it or not, but at least it's an MTV family thing,
Yeah.
So
this comment said, did you hear Amira in her confessional calling the blue team punks and letting Corey and Tori run their games?
yes.
Yeah. So this is the thing that I feel like Big Brother and those shows don't understand about the challenge. On Big Brother, I mean, sometimes they've had people come back for another season, maybe 2 more seasons at the most. The challenge is the type of show where you get on the show and your goal, a lot of their goals are to be cast for lots of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
They want to have a big run, 10 seasons, 11 seasons, whatever. So the things you say in those confessionals are so important to potential future seasons. So if you're brand new and you're like, they're punks and they're just trying to follow this person and that one, it's not good for your long-term.
It is not a good look. You're absolutely right.
So that's what I was thinking when I was hearing her say that. Like, this is probably pissing a lot of them off.
And also, you see just Amber alone, like Casey has been pretty solid in the challenge, but she was really hurt by what Casey said in the confessionals versus what she said to her. And I feel like that did affect Casey negatively. I mean, obviously she's a strong competitor, but it really hurt Fessy and Casey.
Oh, was there another thing? Oh, yeah. I definitely. The thing with Casey is that she came in there with advantages. That's what I feel with Casey. That's not to take anything away from her as a competitor, but she wasn't the first Big Brother person to come on there. And then she had a shield in Fessy.
Yeah.
And another shield in Josh. Because Josh was so emotional that he was always going to be a person that puts himself in the forefront over her. Fessy and his arrogance and the fact that he's like, oh, nobody can beat me. I'm the biggest, baddest guy.
And his womanizing.
Yeah, that part.
Messy all the way around.
I forgot to mention that when he was like, oh, 3 people I had relationships with, Amanda, Michelle, who's the other one?
Tori.
Oh, how could I forget? Well, the Tori one wasn't on the show. That's how I forgot.
It wasn't, but it was.
Yeah, it felt like it was part of the show storyline for sure.
Yeah.
Because it happened like right after one of their seasons.
And I thought it was really big of Jordan not to have any kind of interaction with Fessy about it.
Yes. Oh, yeah, they were on a season together when he came back, right? Or he was on the season
with Ride or Dies.
Fessy was on that season, right?
With Mariah, and they made it all the way to the end.
Right.
And they lost right before the final. They were the last.
Yeah, I remember. Fessy. Yeah, that was a funny season because he was like, "Oh, I don't want to go by Fessy anymore. Now I'm going to go by Fesso, which means decision maker."
I just love the little pop-ups of the windows and all the different girls.
All the different, yeah. And then he would be like, I'm just misunderstood. I'm a quiet and I'm a shy person. It's like, I don't care about none of that.
Right.
None of that is an excuse for the things that you're doing.
Really, really, truly. And not only that, but he's just not the most loyal person. Like, I am heartbroken to take a minute out from this season for
I
Nelson.
already know what you're gonna say. Yep.
Yeah, it's so sad. He played so dirty towards Nelson, and when he went home and Ride or Dies, nobody knew that could possibly be the last time he'd be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Get well soon to him. I see all his stuff on Instagram, and it looks like it's very difficult.
I'm so
Very
proud of him. Yeah, it looks. But he said Hunter told him 1%. That's all you have to worry about is 1% of the time. And he's been so strong through this. Obviously, he's seen the darkness, but I feel like he's just been such a superstar.
Yeah.
Considering how traumatic it's been, I think he's awesome. I hope he gets well better, and I would love, love, love to see him back on the show.
Yeah. And I know that at one point he said his doctors told him that he could. I know that's probably a long shot, but I really do hope that happens for him.
I really do too. If anybody that guy has so much heart. When he went in for Corey,
yeah,
that was maybe one of the sweetest moments I've ever seen on the show.
You know, I wasn't actually a Nelson fan when I first saw him.
Same.
I was like, is this guy for real? Because I really felt like with his personality, I was like, did he just come on here to be this character? Because who acts like that for real?
No, seriously, that's so true. He is so fun. I don't know if you listen to Johnny Banana's podcast, but do you? Okay, so when he was talking about Nelson having these taglines, when he's like, "Damn, spies, lies, and allies," like you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But honestly, and then when Corey goes home and Nelson's walking, and I think who was it? It was Logan and somebody else that was making fun of him. Like, this is where I used to walk with Corey. It's just so sweet. He's so loyal and so in love with every single girl he meets.
Yeah.
My two favorite things about him.
Yeah, you can tell he's definitely a romantic for sure.
Yeah.
I felt bad with him with the whole Olivia thing also, because he genuinely liked her from what I've heard.
And I feel like she genuinely liked him too. And then after he was gone, that apparently, and I can understand, it's hard to be in that house and not have anybody. So I can understand moving on. It's sad for Nelson.
He took it differently than she did in that sense.
Yeah.
Because she was new. So it sounded like, she had genuine love for him in the house. But the house was also part of what brought her together with him in that way.
Yeah.
Whereas for him, it's like, I've had so many romances on all these different shows that I've been on. And apparently he wanted to settle with her. That's what all the different challengers have said. Like, this is a person where he said, she gets me. She's somebody who's been on the show, so she understands what it's like, the lifestyle and all that. And I'm ready to settle. And when she didn't feel the same way after the show ended, he was pretty heartbroken.
I think it was heartbroken, and I think, like, not in a negative way, it was a blow to his ego too.
Of course.
And it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing for it because it's so competitive. I can imagine the competitiveness seeps its way into every aspect, not in a negative way, but it's just, I think it'd be hard.
Yep. So what are your overall thoughts of the episode and, the trailer for the upcoming rest of the season?
I am super excited for the season. I was so not into last season. I really did try, but it wasn't. The
Challenge USA won?
Yes.
Same.
Yeah. And I tried week after week, and I found myself fast forwarding to the end. Just to
it was only my love for the franchise as a whole.
Yes.
That kept me watching that season.
And I believe TJ's TJ's in it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I really after TJ came back from that really bad accident, I try and support anything he does. Like him walking out and the looks on everybody's faces, I thought was just so neat. But
I loved. Did you see the documentary?
Yes.
I loved seeing that extra TJ stuff in the documentary.
I did
where,
too.
where it showed the cast talking about how huge of a moment that was because they had not seen him
Goosebumps
since then.
right now. Uh-huh.
They had no idea that he was going to be there, let alone host that season. And then showing the parts of his recovery where like his memory was so terrible, and it was just like,
And how tiring it was for him to do that season. Like he was exhausted.
yeah.
And he had no, like he couldn't count change.
And
Like he worked so hard. Sorry.
no, I was just saying, like, the TJ hates quitters thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone kind of felt like it was just a gimmick, hate
Mm-hmm.
quitters. But then when they showed that thing in the documentary, it was like, okay, this guy had this bad accident and he was in a coma and he could have quit. So when he came out of that coma and came back to the franchise and started hosting again, it was like, I could have quit on my life. I could have quit on my recovery.
And he has more than enough money to do it.
Yes.
He doesn't need to be there.
Yes. So he's like, I don't quit on anything. So I expect the same of the people around me.
He put his money where his mouth is.
Right, exactly.
He didn't expect anything from anybody else that he wasn't willing to do himself.
Yeah, so even though people are like, oh, TJ, you're not doing this, the thing is, he's done so many things in his life. I've heard that he even tries some of the challenges that are put out there for everyone else to do. Not like he's competing, but he's just doing a run through.
Yeah.
He's very involved. He cares a lot about what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's so cool. I also loved in the documentary, and I think it's Johnny that says there was one where they saw a fire, an ambulance and a fire truck leaving, and it was because somebody had just gone hurt on the challenge they were about to do, and they didn't find out till afterwards. So yeah, no, I love TJ, and I feel like he's the one that makes it a family.
He
like
does.
He's kind of the dad you don't want to disappoint, and
oh my goodness, I be in the forums that I'm in sometimes. I'm like, TJ, if I would love to do something, and then TJ's like, I'm proud of you, man.
Oh my gosh, that would be it for me. That would be
I can retire.
Yeah. When he's like, good job, I'm sure we'll see you again.
Yes.
I mean, that just, if he's proud of the work you put in, that's all you can ask for from the challenge.
He doesn't care if you lose, even if you lose badly.
Mm-hmm.
If you were out there fighting as hard as you could and he could tell, he's impressed by you.
Exactly. It's all about heart. That's the beginning and the end for him.
Who did he say that to? Casey's brother. Even though Casey's brother is cardboard.
Kenny. Yes.
Kenny. I like him. I actually followed his Instagram.
Me too.
He's very nice, but he didn't do anything for me on the show.
But he had a very nice vacation in a hotel room all by himself from the beginning all the way to the end.
It's funny that the season that her brother comes on is one of the seasons I remember seeing her talking the most.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, there's scenes of her cracking jokes. She's part of different storylines. I'm like, wow, Casey's actually
a person.
A person, yeah.
Yeah. And on Big Brother, that was her. She was very quiet. You don't get to know really much of anything about her. But I think between her opening up to Nani and her brother being there, she felt at home.
I don't
think she's had that before.
Yeah, I feel like Nani's relationship with her did a lot for her game.
Yeah.
And a lot for her public appearance also. Because Nani is a relationship queen.
Yeah, she is. I don't know what season it was. I vaguely remember seeing somewhere where Casey had a girlfriend.
Yep.
Nani was flirting with Casey.
Yep.
And Nisa got in the middle.
He was trying to block that. Yep.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to go back and rewatch that because Anissa made it seem like Nani was just doing that for attention because she felt like she was kind of fading away as a challenge favorite. And I remember feeling very differently, but I haven't been able to find that scene to rewatch it to kind of see where I'm at about it because I didn't know what a big deal Casey was going to end up being on the show. I think that was her first season.
It might have been, yeah. I think it was.
So I think it's really interesting. And I feel like Nani is always herself, but like she's so confidently herself around Casey. So I just think and I follow them on
That's true.
Instagram and they're cute. Like I love them. They're just the cutest couple ever. So I feel like having that kind of comfort and confidence in a house makes all the difference.
Oh yeah, and somehow they're able to use it to their advantage because sometimes it could be a blessing and sometimes it could be a curse.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes being in a pair with somebody puts a bigger target on your back, or it makes you act emotionally. But I think that that's where they balance each other so perfectly. Because Nani is the one who's big and emotional, and Casey is the calm and cool one.
Yeah.
So Casey, in several occasions, is like, it's okay, like just chill. It doesn't matter if they're targeting me or they're doing this to me. It's just a game.
I've never seen Nani so fiercely protective. As she will cut a bitch. Pardon
I
my
for,
language.
I forgot what season it was, but I think it might have been one of the first seasons after they officially got together. And I remember somebody did something to Casey, and Nani was relatively calm the whole season. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not the Nani I'm used to. She's usually up in people's faces and yelling and screaming. But then when this thing happened to Casey, she was like, I'm calm, but I'm still crazy.
I remember that exact sentence.
And I
I'm
was like,
still me.
there's Nani. There's the Nani I know.
I love it. I love it. And then this season, you don't have. It's hard because you don't have those storylines that you really look forward to knowing how things are going or what's going on. So I feel like Fessy and Josh
Mhm.
and Amanda and Tori and Polly have the capability to build that up, but we're really gonna have to see which way they decide to go with it. And also, I have a question for you. I heard that Bananas and Wes are not friends again. They're again mortal enemies.
Well, I don't know, but I can just say that from the interview that I did with Wes, anyone who hasn't checked that out, it's on my page. I did a challenge preview interview with Wes, and Wes said that his relationship with Bananas going into Challenge USA 2 was the worst that it had been since before Total Madness.
That's
And
heartbreaking.
Total Madness is when they made up. So it seems like, I don't know, maybe you could tell me more on the Banana side because I haven't really heard him speak that much about it recently. But at least from Wes's side, he's like, you think that we're good. We've had all these conversations outside of the show. We've agreed that we should set aside our beef and work together, whatever. But he said once we get on the show, Johnny gets kind of excited about the TV aspects of it, and then will say things or throw him under the bus for a TV moment, which makes him feel like I still can't trust you.
Which I kind of feel is a two-way street. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why. I love the evolution of their friendship, and when I was so disappointed when Wes decided to go in against Bananas. I feel like that whole season could have been such a band-aid, so much repair, healing, trust building, so much, and it was so cut short because of that decision.
Yeah.
And so I got really frustrated with that. And I feel like, as much as I love Wes, don't get me wrong, I do feel like that was for a TV moment.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh, that was a TV moment for sure.
Yeah. And I don't think he thought it was going to go the way that it did.
Oh yeah, he thought it was gonna be this epic thing where he takes out Bananas, and he gets his next title, and that was a big elimination thing on his belt.
Yeah.
Because that's a good point because Wes always talks about the clout
Mm-hmm.
that newer players get from calling him in, like a
Mm-hmm.
Bear going against him, or like certain people that have beaten him.
Mm-hmm.
Devin, even though Devin had been on some seasons, it was still a big notch on his belt to take out Wes.
Definitely.
He doesn't have that many people that he would get that kind of notch on his belt for taking out because he's Wes.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you that he was like a chance to go against Bananas in a mainstay challenge. Because I know he beat him on that was it Champs versus Pros, I think.
Whatever it was with the whip and the blindfold.
Yeah, and CT
Yeah.
was telling him like, "Oh, he's over here, he's over here."
Yeah.
I know he
CT
counts
to pick a
that.
side.
I know he counts that, but it's still not the same as beating him on a regular challenge.
Totally agree. And the hard thing for me is that, like, I feel like Wes is really intelligent. He paved the way for the clout chasing in the sense that who did he start fights with in the beginning? CT
Kenny,
and Bananas.
yeah.
And Kenny and Evan.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yep.
And those are the 4 biggest dogs. I think
they were on there before him. Yep.
Yeah. And so I feel like he's the one who invented it, you know?
He did. That's a good. I didn't even think of it that way. That's why it's good to have a co-host.
It's awesome. I love hearing all the things you say. It's so much fun for me to talk to somebody who is as into it as I am and knows the ins and outs.
He's getting annoyed at the things that he set up.
Yeah. And other people are taking advantage of it. If he could copyright it and stop it, I know 100% he would. But I feel like Johnny gets a bad rap. I get that he used to be. I didn't like him in the beginning, especially when he used to fight with CT. But I feel like he's really a much more stand-up guy now. And I feel like Johnny gets let down more than anybody else.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I always hope for Wes and Bananas to work together and to win together and just go against each other at the end.
There's also an obvious thing about the challenge that people, I don't know how they conveniently forget. It was a different era when Johnny Bananas was on TV at the beginning of the challenge and when Wes was on TV. Even Wes says it. He's like, I'd be canceled for the things that I was saying and doing back in the early 2000s. Johnny would be canceled if he was doing and saying those types of things now.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse for them, but if you look at all the climate of all the reality TV shows, the Real World, like everything that was going on at that time, a lot of things were more acceptable.
What I thought was really interesting was the Real World New York. I don't know if you watched the new one.
The original one? The newer one?
The first ever Real World.
Yes.
And then when they came back into the house 30 years later.
I saw that one also, yeah.
And it was so hard for me to stomach.
Yeah.
That one girl. And it was, because I didn't watch the Real World. My parents were super overprotective. I wasn't allowed to watch MTV when I was little. So I just watched the Real World New York for the first time, the first one ever, probably 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So watching it then, it was hard. It was hard to see what these people went through, like certain people, and how privileged other people were. But to see them come back and still go through it, and I don't remember their names, and I feel really bad. But the one girl and her dad had such a close bond, such a close relationship, and it wasn't even touched on in the real world. You know what I mean? So to see that and to see how today it's the same for them, the fact that Bananas, CT, Johnny, even Kenny and Evan, I put them in the same category, were the way that they were, but have evolved into so much better people. You can see by the real world that that's not the case for everybody. But you can see here that it was. And not only that, but Johnny's answer to Amber, revealing on the show that she's.
Oh yeah. That was that she was diagnosed with autism. Yep.
Yeah, and Johnny's reaction, like, it made me a little bit teary-eyed. I'm not gonna lie.
It was very nice. Yeah.
It is how the world should be, you know. And then to see like how he's evolved, and I just feel like it says a lot for the show, and it says a lot for them as people.
I don't know if this is just because these were fan events, but in the last year, I met all three of those guys, Kenny, CT, and Johnny.
I'm so jealous. I love them all.
And all three of them, the one that surprised me the most out of all three actually was probably Bananas. because he was so nice in person. You know, like he's like, I had a great conversation with him. I told him that I liked West. He's like, I'm sorry, man. He's like, oh, you made the wrong choice. And we had a laugh about that. And we talked about different seasons. And he even admitted, he was like, I was a huge asshole, like, especially in the earlier days of my challenge career. And I wish that I could take back my behavior. But it was like, I was young, I was immature. You know, like I was given this big spotlight and I didn't know what to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some of that.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of the challenge itself, the producers and the team that puts it together, because they don't tolerate. And they shouldn't. They're protective and they should be. They don't stand it at all. And I think that's how it should have been much, much, much sooner.
The evolution that I love the most is CT.
Same.
Because CT is just like, I know that I was terrible back in the day.
Yeah.
Like I should have been canceled from TV years ago. But because they gave me another chance and another opportunity, he came back as a whole different guy.
He did. And it's funny you say that. I was just talking about him to somebody who just recently started watching the challenges. And I think they've watched Total Madness till now. Mm-hmm. And they're like, they were laughing because they were like, the security guards are huge. And I'm like, yeah, I was like,
they never used to have security.
They didn't. I said, you can 100% thank CT for that. Because when he was chasing Adam, everybody was terrified.
It was like production running around trying to stop him. Yeah. Camera guys.
Everybody, anybody was.
They had big guys in there like Evan and Big Easy and you know Kenny trying to hold him back. It was just like this raging animal.
And there's no stopping that guy. And I told my friend, I was like, that is specifically and pinpointedly the moment they realized they needed larger security.
I'll be honest, that's why I respect less these like Polly and Josh fights, because they're having the fights they see those big ass security guards standing there while they're getting into these arguments. 100%. And they know that within 2 seconds they're going to be in between them, so they're going to be, oh yeah, I'm going to F you up. And then they're going to have the big security guards in between them holding them back. So it's like, this is theatrics to me.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that because I don't see much of a difference between Paulie and Josh.
No.
At all.
Peas in a
as far as performance, as far as dramatics, as far as clout. I mean, Paulie has a tattoo of Cara Maria on his leg. I get that she chose it.
It's funny. It's kind of the same Bananas West thing, where it's like, there's only room for one of us. They hate the thing about the other person that they do the same thing.
But it's like the kindergarten version, like the JV team.
Yes. It's like you hate like I like Polly more than Josh, but I'm also like, you hate Josh so much for all the dramatic. Maybe Polly doesn't cry, but I feel like he's always been for the TV moments from the beginning.
And I kind of feel like he's like, fine, I'm gonna take my girlfriend and go home.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like his game affected Cara Maria so much, and I miss her. I miss her presence. I miss her, the way she, like, when she played with that broken hand, and CT fought so hard for her, and she was, I mean, there's just nothing like it, you know? And I feel like it kind of cast a shadow over her.
To me, the challenge is Johnny Bananas and Cara Maria. Yes, there's Wes and there's CT and there's Laurel, there's other people. But those were the first challengers that I know that were like, I want to be on every season. Yeah. And I want to be like a challenge star when the show is paying you like $10,000 as a final prize.
Right. I remember with Coral and Mike the Miz, I don't even think there was a prize.
Yeah.
It was just
that's true. Yeah. There was a time before Bananas and Cara Maria too.
Yeah.
Yep. But they were the first people that I'm like, yo, they're just on every season because they love doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Especially her.
Yeah.
because
She
she
just
wasn't
loves the
winning it.
challenge of it.
She wasn't winning it first, and she wasn't on any major alliances. She wasn't popular. They
And she got
always,
really hurt by Laurel. Laurel was very cruel to her.
I remember that.
And it was heartbreaking. Like she defended her because I feel like Carmaria was an odd man out her whole life.
She was, yeah,
And when somebody spilled the soda on her,
that was West.
that was that I thought it was. I
Yeah.
thought it was. That was just so heartbreaking. And it reminded me of like when I was younger, it was before bullying was a bad thing. And people would get stuffed in lockers, thrown in trash cans, threatened. And I feel like that's kind of what she went through. And Laurel was there for her and then just took her support away
Yeah.
altogether. And so I feel like that was such a hard transition for her.
Yep. And it's like she experienced that, but she kept coming back.
Yeah.
So I always saw her as such a strong person. Because like a Johnny Bananas always had an alliance.
Hmm.
So he didn't come on there and get bullied and all that kind of stuff. He had a group he was part of the cool group always.
Yeah. He fell in with Kenny and Evan immediately.
Yes.
Which was really, and I still miss Kenny and Evan.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't imagine how the challenge would be now if had they stayed on it. And I wonder if Kenny and Wes would have ever made up and become friends.
I watch a lot of different podcasts, and I don't know. It's like Wes has said that him and Kenny, there's no real beef. He was like, at that time on that season, he was extremely mad at Kenny because he's like, that's my friend or whatever. But he said in retrospect, it's mainly just Johanna that he's mad at because him and Johanna specifically talked before that season. And he was like, I know that you're single now. We're not together anymore. I have a girlfriend because he was with Kellyanne at that time.
Wow.
And he said, you can get with anybody except Kenny. Don't get with Kenny. So they had an agreement. And he was like, that's the first person that she ended
I
up.
was gonna say, once you say that and you're with somebody who's in that same world,
Yeah.
that you have to know that was gonna be the first one.
And I don't even think Kenny liked her like that. It was like he's attracted to her, but I don't think it was like I want to be with you long term or anything.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna offer me this,
Right.
sure.
Yeah. It was a different time, but yeah, no, I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like if he did make that into a bigger thing, it will kind of diminish him and Bananas a little bit. So to keep that as the top,
He actually said that split up created the beast with him, Kenny, Evan, and Johnny.
That makes sense. I
Because
can
he
see
said
that.
they got in the beef because they chose sides. So it wasn't actually that he had any personal issue with any of them individually.
Mm-hmm.
But because there was this split because of Kenny hooking up with Johanna, they chose to be friends with Kenny over him.
That's interesting. I don't know. I see that side, but I also remember just his smart aleckness.
Oh yeah, they didn't like that.
So I feel like it might have gone that way either way, but it would have been interesting to see how it would have played out had that not happened.
Something I always hear about Wes though is that they all say, I love Wes outside of the show.
Yeah.
He's one of my closest friends, but I don't trust Wes as far as I can throw him once I get on a show with him.
No, I watch a lot of things that he's on.
Yeah.
Like anytime I hear him talking or in a podcast, in a YouTube video, anything, I love to watch it. He sounds like a really fun guy and genuinely sweet guy. Him and his wife's relationship, so cute. I heard
It is.
that this might be his last season because his wife is pregnant. So
He said that when I interviewed him too.
That's what I thought. That's why I think I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, he said that because of the baby on the way, the demands of his job, and the fact that MTV doesn't give him enough advance notice, that it's going to be very hard for him to put that in his schedule again. So
yeah,
I will enjoy this season as much as I can because I'm a lifetime West fan.
Same.
The thing is, even though I know he's arrogant and I can definitely understand why people did not like him, especially early on, I didn't like that big friendship alliance. That's
I
what
can see that.
that's what people started to call that whole Kenny
Yeah.
West. I mean Kenny, Johnny, Evan, and then you added in some other people like Paula. Um,
Oh yeah.
they had a large group
Yeah.
that always came in there and worked together. And Wes would always be the guy who's like, I'm not part of y'all group. Whoever is here on the board, I'm gonna find all these new people, and I'm gonna be like, let me make a pitch on why you should work with me. Then he'd rally the troops, and then he'd try to get some of the people from the other alliance to flip. And I guess I just liked the way that he played such a complicated game.
Yes. I definitely agree. I wasn't a huge fan in the beginning, but I love the win with CT. And I love
Yeah. I was just gonna say I actually I've watched seasons in recent years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so different from me watching them now at 35 versus watching them when I was like a teenager, because I view everything so differently.
Right?
Even
Isn't
some
it
of the
interesting?
even some of the drama that I loved, I was like, I can't really enjoy this the same way that I did
Yeah.
at that time.
I completely agree. And I feel like I said West paved the way for kind of the, I guess, getting a fight with people. He also paved the way for the little guy that didn't have the biggest muscles, the guy who wasn't the most popular, to make a name for themselves, but even more important than that, get to the end, make friends, be substantial, important, and picked first. So I feel like in that sense, he's not only inspirational, but he's a very lovable character. Like, yes, I understand that he has a character for the show,
Yeah.
and as frustrating as it can be at times, it's still very endearing.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like all these people that were there originally, to me, were stars.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean stars in a sense of like how I feel like people that come on shows nowadays get acting coaches and they just get prepped on the way that they're supposed to behave and the types of things that they should say to get themselves recast and all that kind of stuff.
The Amandas. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
like these arguments that Johnny and Wes were having, or like the things that were happening with CT, Cara Maria, I felt like that was just hold up a camera and see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And they just did whatever and said whatever and turned it into something.
Yeah.
And nowadays people kind of follow that blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be the next Wes, or I want to be the next Bananas, or the whatever, you know? So I'm always going to love my franchise legends. I'm sad to see them go, but
I know it's kind of heartbreaking. I get it, but I was gonna say, I know I mentioned this last time. There was a panel that I watched of the producers of all the shows. I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah, I need
you
to
can see it, and it's very similar. That's what they said about Jersey Shore, because the creator of the first two people who were to cast and everything, they were Italian, so they knew exactly what they were looking for, and all they wanted to do was hold up a camera and let it go.
Yeah, they picked the right people for that.
They did, right? And how they did it was they went to bars in that area and just watched.
Wow.
And looked for the personalities that they were looking for.
So did they approach them in the bar?
Yes.
Wow.
And gave them their phone number. And the way Snooki called back the producer was, she said, I'm calling you back because you're the only phone number in my purse that's not a boy.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, and history was made from there. Like, look at how far it's gone.
That show was something, man. I remember watching it in the early days, like the first few seasons, and I'm like, are these people for real? Like the same thing I felt about Nelson.
Uh-huh.
I felt that way about the whole cast. Like, this can't be serious.
Especially Angelina. I could not believe she was a real person. I felt like everything she did was just for the cameras, but no. It was
I'm actually inspired by them too, because I was looking up stuff for them before, how they got something like, I want to say like $1,000 a week or something when they first started
Uh-huh.
to be there for the summer, which is not that much,
Mm-mm.
like regular job type of money. And then they did this negotiation at the time of the first Jersey Shore, where it was like we all have to get maybe $1 million for the season for us to come, or we're all gonna walk type of thing. And then they started to get these huge salaries.
Mm-hmm.
For some of them, $1 million plus per episode.
That's insane.
And they came back and they're still on TV now. So
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing.
And you have the spin-offs too. Shot at, what was it? Double Shot at Love?
Yeah, double shot I know what you're talking about. I don't know if that's what it was called because I know
Yeah, I'm mixing it up with the Tila Tequila.
I watched all of those, by the way.
Really? Me
I
too.
watched the Tila Tequila one. I
Me
watched
too.
the Kid Rock one.
Yes.
Flavor of Love.
What was the guy's name? He had a bandana, and when he took it off, his hair came off with it.
Isn't that the Rock of Love one?
Yeah, it is Rock of Love. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just can't remember his name. No, they were all amazing.
I watched all his VH1 shows.
Flavor Flav.
Yep, that was
New York.
I think that was probably the one that got me into the VH1 stuff. Flavor of Love. Oh my goodness. And I Love New York. Oh my goodness.
They're just amazing. The Stallion.
Real Chance of Love. Yep.
Yeah. This is so good. So good. And it's always been my guilty pleasure. And when moving on, Jersey Shore and stuff like that was just an extension of those kind of big personalities.
Yes.
And they just are who they are. And I think that's the change that kind of for our generation was growing up for me. I don't know about you, but it was very much like you have to act a certain way, you have to be a certain way, you have to live up to certain standards.
Yep.
And then these are just people being themselves and enjoying their life, and that was just such a foreign concept to me.
I love that. I love people who are just authentically themselves.
Yeah.
You know, like something that Wes was telling me. I followed his Patreon for a while, and he'll actually talk about the fact that he thinks thoroughly before he goes on a season, not just about game strategy, but comedy, things to do that are funny.
That's so cute. I love that.
So some of these things that we see him saying in the confessional, he's very meticulous. I think a lot of people don't know or understand that. So they're like, oh, this guy's arrogant. That's true. But I think in the early days, the arrogance was just, he's arrogant. But then when he started going home and seeing what was getting picked up on the edited version of the show, it's like, oh, the show likes when I say this or I do this. So let me think of this thing to say, or let me think of this thing. And
I feel like in the beginning, his arrogance was covering up his insecurities.
Probably was.
And then, like you said, yeah, it kind of directed him by what he saw on the show and what they liked.
So he said going later on, he said that it's a combination of both. He was like, I exaggerated some of the things that I thought and felt.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, people have asked him, is the Johnny Bananas and Wes thing a fake thing that you did for TV? He said, absolutely not. He said, the guy really made me angry in the game. But there were moments where I'm like, I know that this is going to be a moment when we have this argument.
It kind of reminds me of when Johnny had his sister write those notes.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite things ever. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
There's so many moments.
There's so many moments. And I like how they're helping, even though they're getting paid, obviously, but they're helping kind of transition the franchise into the next generation. Definitely. They're still around. I love the fact that production still values them.
Yeah.
Even now, like Wes at almost 40, Bananas is in his 40s now. They had CT come back, several times in his late 30s going and into his 40s.
Dad bod, not dad bod, both.
that was inspiring too.
That was.
I,
I completely agree. I thought that was amazing.
yeah, I remember when Jay beat him in that Forget Me Not or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
the thing that he had to build the barrier and then the other person has to remove everything and open the door.
Hmm.
And he was just like, oh, I'm gonna remember this. I need to go and tune up in the off season,
Yep.
but I'll be back.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you tuned the hell up, man. It's like,
Everybody's mad at Jay. They said that he woke the beast.
he did.
He
And then I
did.
think he won 2 in a row after that. Yeah.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Once with Amber, once with Casey, like we were talking about earlier. And my favorite thing is when they shared the money and kind of started that tradition.
Yes. It's like
That is really just CT coming full circle.
Yeah. So he would not have done that back in the day.
No. He might have asked them to empty their pockets and give him what they had in their pockets.
I don't actually like seasons where only first place gets the money, actually.
I don't either.
I'm like, those finals are so hard.
Grueling.
Especially nowadays, multiple days and
100 hours.
And all this stuff. I would have felt sick if I had done that kind of final and got nothing from it.
Yeah. And I was especially happy for Olivia. She put all of her heart and soul into that.
Yeah.
And she did not give up. She said, I'm a little dizzy, but it's going to be hard to run. Like, she was still on a stretcher, face broken in 5 different places.
I couldn't believe she was thinking about continuing.
Like, I was floored. And that, combined with Horacio being so supportive and then saying that he'll do double work, like, that's the essence of the challenge for me. So I thought that was neat. And I love that Devin attributed it to CT and Casey and wanted to, because that was a thing for that. Like, that was an option that they had. But Devin kind of paying it forward was
like following in their footsteps. Yep.
Yeah. I love that. So
Devin was also another one where I'm like, I can't stand this man.
Absolutely.
I'm like, he's just the most irritating. He's the worst type of drama.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think he's there for the game type of thing. But he changed in the recent years.
Yeah. I love him now. The What's 8 times 9? Funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. I've rewatched that a few times.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing. And see, it's like you were saying how Josh and Paulie do the theatrics when they know they're going to be separated. Yeah. Devin didn't do any of that. He's just hilarious. And he absolutely points out when he moons them and Big Brother Sucks. Some of my favorite things that came out of that season. Yep. But it wasn't like I'm bigger or badder than you. It's absolutely just like antagonizing as a strategy.
Yep. And it's funny that him and Josh are like close buddies now.
What in the world? The off-season trips just baffle me every single time.
And you mentioned sports, it's just like that. Because you know how you hear all those back in the day sports stories, basketball stories, where they're like, we were friends in the off season, but during the season we didn't talk, we didn't train together, we didn't hang out together. But nowadays in sports, they're buddies.
Absolutely.
They're at each other's weddings. They take trips together while the season is still going on.
They support each other's children, which I think is adorable.
Their uncle such and such to whoever, like, they give their kids the jersey of their friend from the other team.
Yeah.
I feel like the challenge is mostly like that too.
I totally agree.
Of course, there's probably a few people that it's just like, I don't mess with that person. But the majority of them, they're like a group they're like a family in a way.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I love how everybody came together for Kobe's family after Kobe passed away. Yeah. I thought that was such a tribute to like the legacy that he left.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like they do have that same kind of support for each other outside of the game. Like, and you can see that especially with Diem and when Diem passed away, how supportive everybody was. And I feel like that was a huge transformation for CT to see the bigger picture and things too.
Yeah.
So I think it's really special.
Yeah, me too.
So
well, I definitely want to thank you for joining me for this.
Thank you for having me.
hopefully we can do more of these together.
And hopefully we can stay on topic. I'm sorry, I blame myself.
That's okay. That's the one. I'm glad you said that, because the only thing I didn't like about episode 1 is because I was like, why couldn't you make it 2 hours? Because I wanted to see the elimination
so badly. It killed it for me
Yeah,
that we didn't see the elimination.
it built me up, and then I'm like, oh no, I gotta wait till Sunday.
But I think it's interesting that they're doing 2 in a week, though.
Yeah. So what happened with the 2 in a week is because of the writer's strike, and because of the fact that it's all on CBS. CBS has so many shows that they are trying to jam pack into this fall lineup. So what's happening is they're showing 2 episodes a week from now until August 31st. Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. And then starting in September, it's going to be once per week on Thursdays only.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. That's awesome.
So we're all screwed up because of these shows getting delayed.
Yeah, I'm glad that the strike, I think it's important for everything to be fair to everybody. So I understand, but I'm glad that,
The one thing that sucks is that the Challenge All-Stars 4 is like a casualty of this writer's strike.
How so?
Because it's been filmed a long time ago. It's already done. The show is already filmed, recorded, and everything ready to go. And it was supposed to be shown at the beginning of the summer.
I was wondering about that.
And then, because of now, there's no space to put it in. So all the other shows are going to play out, and they're probably going to put it sometime next year because of that. Sad. And
yeah,
Cara Maria is supposed to be on that season.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It's rough. It's a rough world we live in right now. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's neat. Well, that's good to know. And I'm excited to see what happens on Sunday.
Yes, absolutely. And thanks to you, and thanks to everybody out there for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.